Alright, this video is for dads or moms, maybe uncles, something like that. And it's some profound experiences that I've had recently that have shaped my ability to be a better father. Specifically in the categories of being patient with my kids and being merciful and compassionate, sympathetic and empathetic, all of those types of things. So, I just finished a whitewater kayak today. We did the Nantahala in North Carolina. It's mostly class 2, one class 3 rapid, and I'm a new whitewater kayaker and can't even really successfully roll. I mean, I can, out of 3 roll attempts, I get 1 roll in, if you know what kayaking is, what that means. Anyway, and I ended up falling out 3 times. So you flip upside down, you're basically trapped, your helmet's bouncing off rocks under the water, and you kick your knees up, break the spray skirt, swim out, try and hold on to your paddle, try and hold on to your boat, and it's really scary. Big rapids, you know, at least when you're swimming them, they feel big. They don't look big to anyone who's looking at you. And foot entrapment is a real thing where you can get your foot pinned and a relatively small amount of current can push you over and kill you. It happened to a friend of my dad's. And you're trying to figure out, you know, how do I get over and get banged up by rocks, and it's scary. It happened to me 3 times, and I'm spooked, you know, not terrified, but spooked. And, you know, I kept my head, powered through. But the guy mentoring me is a friend. He's in his early 60s and just incredibly patient with me and encouraging and compassionate and empathetic and sympathetic, and it really surprises me actually, because he never had kids, and I think that very often having kids is one of the primary ways that you learn those things. Nothing against people who don't have kids. I'm just saying that if you haven't had little toddlers puking up on you and changing diapers in the middle of the night, there's just a set of experiences you haven't gone through that tend to, in my observations, lead to people who aren't quite as ready to be compassionate, empathetic, and all these things. Anyway, and so today I'm kind of feeling similarly to a year ago when this same mentor of mine took me sport climbing, where you go rock climbing, but there's no rope above you, and you have to clip the rope in as you go, and you can take what's called a lead fall, where you fall, you know, 12 feet or 14 feet, and you can hit rocks and ledges and get hurt, and it's just really scary. And then like 4 months ago, he took me trad climbing for the very first time, where, like sport climbing, you're climbing with a rope at the bottom, but then you're inserting cams and nuts and things like that. You can Google that if you're interested. And the certainty of those cams and nuts is low, or lower than when you're climbing on sports. So you could fall and the pieces start coming out of the rock and you fall all the way to your death. And I couldn't believe, I really couldn't believe my friend's level of patience and encouragement when we did the trad lead. And I was really in a pickle. I had climbed to a section that I struggled with. Anyway, you don't care about any of this. I was up there, I was praying. It was no joke. I was really spooked. My head was spinning, and there was really no easy way to come down, no solution. And this friend of mine, again, was just extremely encouraging and compassionate. And I told him, I said, you would have made an incredible father. It really was amazing. So anyway, I grew up with a great dad. He didn't call me a baby when I was afraid or tell me to get over it or anything like that. He set a great example. I'm very grateful for him and for that. But even with that example, I still find myself really struggling sometimes when my kids are afraid, or something feels too heavy for them, or their legs are tired from hiking or whatever. I don't often say it, but inside of me it's like, come on, you big baby, I did it. And it seems to me that that's a common trait of men, fathers, where, you know, they just tell their kids to suck it up, rub dirt in it, you'll be fine, quit being a girl, you know, I thought I had a little boy, not a little girl, just all these things that I've been tempted to say, and probably have said some of those things, and I hear others say it, and I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. I think that, you know, I've made lots of mistakes as a dad, so don't take this as anything like that. But here's what I'm on about. So in the last year, I've started going outdoor rock climbing with my family, and we started whitewater kayaking as a family, and mountain biking as a family, and doing some things like that. And here's the interesting part. The things that we're doing are really not challenging to me. They're pretty easy. So we do like the upper Hiwassee River with like class 1, a little tiny bit of class 2. And it was like, basically the first time I did, I was like, yeah, okay, you know. But my kids have been on it and have been spooked and, you know, a little bit creeped out. And because we're going through the same thing at the same time, it's almost been hard to relate to them, because it's like, oh, come on, you know, I did it last week for the first time too, and, you know, I wasn't afraid. And as dumb as it sounds, and if you've not experienced this, you might just be laughing right now, and that's fine. As dumb as it sounds, it's easy to forget that they're little kids. You know, I'm 30 years older than my youngest son. And that doesn't only just mean that I'm, you know, physically more capable and taller and stronger and all that, but like I've experienced more of life, and I know the kind of forces that it takes to break bones, and, you know, the kind of water that it takes to drown you, and you know, just kids, there's just a way bigger, mysterious, unknown factor for kids. Just a quick tangent, like I went on a missions trip with my oldest son to Puerto Rico recently, and I told him Puerto Rico was an island, but we were going to the island of Vieques, which was next door, and it was a smaller island, and we were going to be serving there. And after a day or two, I said, like, you know, what do you think? How is it? And he's like, well, it's really big. I thought I was going to be able to see the water on both sides of the island. You know, so he's imagining, like, you know, the island the size of our yard or something, because I said it was a small island. And, like, we just don't remember what it's like to be 6 and 10 and 12, most of us, and when an adult says something is large or small or scary or short, or just our sense of the world, our sense of reality is so much off, or so out of calibration compared to adults. And so I was patient with my children as they learned to rock climb, and I was patient, you know, on the water yesterday with them, but that's not like instinctual. It's like I have to work really hard at it. And in my mind is like, well, is this one of those moments I should tell them to, like, suck it up and be a man and find your courage and wipe your tears away, you know, because there's a place for that too, I believe, you know, or is this a place for compassion and empathy, and, you know, and so anyway, you know, if any of that sounds familiar, you know, welcome to the club, and, you know, keep listening, hopefully. But so anyway, here's what I'm realizing is, like, when you start to do things with your family and they're challenging for kids, but they're not challenging for you, it kind of lulls you into this sense of like, it's really not that intense, it's not that adventurous, because you don't really have a good way of perceiving how this mild adventure for you might be totally overwhelming for them. You know, you could guess, but, you know, you wouldn't guess right, and you could talk to them, but kids aren't as good as adults as expressing how they're feeling, and even adults aren't that good at it. But if you find yourself some sort of a guide or mentor, or hire someone, I don't care, and you let them take you to your limit, to the area that challenges you to the point of being creeped out and spooked, then it's like you take a step back in time to when you were a kid and you're doing some of these things, and you can feel it. I mean, like, you know, I almost looked at this guy on the water today like, help, Dad. You know, when I was upside down, the boat was upside down, the paddle was going away, I was hitting rocks, I was ready to go down a little waterfall. Like you almost have that same sense of like, Daddy, I need help. And I mean, this guy is almost my dad's age, you know, so that even makes it more sort of intuitive. But I'm just driving home right now, And I'm just like I'm so like ashamed that like I haven't been more loving to my children, like that I haven't been more like, of course it's okay that you're scared, and you know, of course we can try again, and of course we can take a break, and you know, like I mean, I have been tough on my kids, probably righteously and also not righteously, but like, man, like putting yourself back in those shoes where you're like really seriously scared, like, man, like you don't have to work at empathy anymore. Like it just happens. And this mentor of mine, I mean, he told me today, he's like, man, he's like, there was days he used to do like class 5 plus whitewater creek kayaking. So like pretty serious stuff. Rock climbing, he's actually in the guidebooks for the Knoxville area. So like, this is a serious outdoorsman. And I mean, he told me like, yeah, there's cliffs and there's climbs that freak me out, you know. He said there was times when we were paddling where I would go to shore and I'd throw my paddle and say, I hate this sport, you know, I'm terrified to go down this rapid. And like hearing an older man who you look up to and respect and can appreciate the skills, like to hear him say that, it's like, phew, it's not just me. And then to think about like, man, my poor kids, like I'm treating them like, oh, this isn't that hard, you know, hurry up and let's get moving, you know, it's just in your head, get over it. And like, I'm an adult, I'm like 6 times their age. And like, yeah, of course it feels easy for me because, you know, I'm 6 foot and muscles and whatever, you know, but they're kids. And I don't know, I'm making this video in the car because like, I know like the soft heart that I have right now for my children. And like, I know how that can harden up. I know that like when I get home, they're gonna all run to me and want to show me what they've been doing all day, and I'm tired and sweaty and want to shower and want a snack. And like, I know that of myself. It's horrible. And I know that this video could just, you know, never be made. And I just like, you know, even just for like the integrity of the channel and my own integrity, like I don't want to posture myself as like this incredible dad who always gets things right and blah blah blah. Like, no, I'm like, I am failing, I'm tripping myself. And you know, anyone who looks at social media and just sees someone with this perfect life, like, you know, it's deceptive to only put your best things on the internet and to hide all of your deficiencies. And so like, I want some of my deficiencies to be, you know, expressed, even though I'm not psyched about them. Anyway, so that's part of the reason I'm making the car, and maybe the audio is not that great, but man, I just want to encourage, you know, young men, soon-to-be fathers, grandpas, uncles, whatever it is, you know, if there's a kid in your life, man, you want to work out that patient, empathy, sympathetic muscle, whatever it is. Find someone, maybe it's in the outdoor world, I don't know what other way you get challenged, you know. Find someone, hire someone, you know, and it'll cost you some money, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. Like if you spend $1,000 and you end up being a more empathetic dad who doesn't yell at his kid like, hurry up and get moving, you pussy, you know, like that's worth it. Like that's $1,000 well spent, because like that comment from a dad, you know, that comment from a father, that can be with you the rest of your life. That could be the wound. You know, you talk about father wounds and all that stuff. Like, that could be the wound in your child that, you know, sets them back years of maturity and responsibility. And man, if you can spend $1,000 to go hire some rock climbing guide or kayaking guide or caving guide, or I don't know, whatever you're interested in, but has a challenge and a fear element to it that you can push yourself a little bit, man, I'll tell you, that is money well spent. And honestly, like in the 11 years of fathering, like I don't know that I've experienced anything that that pushes me towards that so much. And yeah, 2 last comments if you're interested. First thing is that before I kind of realized this, my parents actually observed it. My parents came to watch the kids climb, and my wife and I were belaying them. And afterwards, my parents said, like, I cannot fathom how patient you were with the kids. Like, that was insane. Like, no one lost their cool, no one rushed them. Like, oh my word, I can't believe how patient you were. And I guess both my wife and I separately said, like, well, we know what it's like to be up there and be stumped or be scared or be spooked or, you know, just like feel like you're paralyzed because, you know, you're afraid to fall. And my mom has like retold that story now to others and to myself and my wife. And so what I'm saying isn't just like a theory, like I think it's actually happened and is happening. Last thing I want to say is, like, I've tried to think about and analyze, like, why do I not want to be empathetic to my children? Like, why isn't it natural to be like, yeah, buddy, it's scary, it's okay, you know, we'll try again. And I think it's pride. Like, I think it's plain old my pride. Like, I want to have tough kids, resilient kids, accomplished kids. I don't want to be scared of nothing. You know, I want other parents to see my kids and be like, wow, I wish I had kids like that. You must be an amazing dad. And it's like, yeah, I am. And it's just like, I think it's just bad old-fashioned pride. And there are, I think, different mechanisms to like crush that pride. And, you know, like Jesus famously said, if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. And, like, I'm not trying to get theological or anything, but it just came to me like this is actually a practical measure, just like Jesus is describing, like chop off your hand. Like, it's very practical. It's not theoretical. It's not a metaphor, whatever. Like, it's a really practical way to like work out your like empathy muscle, is put yourself in the victim's position and pray to God that your guide is, you know, doesn't father you the way you father, doesn't father me the way I father. Like, I'm just so grateful for this mentor of mine who's like so incredibly patient with me while I'm stuck up on the wall, like ready to crap my pants. So anyway, I know this is a bit of a rant. Audio was probably bad, I'm sorry for that, but I really wanted this to be like authentic, and like I just knew I just dropped my phone, sorry. I just knew that like this is the only way I could do it, is like shortly after the event and kind of raw and in the car. So I hope this was for someone, you know, like this channel is not about making money. If one person hears this and becomes a better dad, like it'd just be totally worth it to me. So if that's you, find out what you can find in your area to hire a guide for it. Get yourself spooked and be a better dad. All right, take care.